like watching the Avengers movie, right? There are going to be a bunch of separate movies and TV shows and, you know, collaborative adventures outside of this, but this is kind of canon. You got to listen through this if you're going to appreciate the rest of the music.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the RZAs podcast, the only show where two Jews and a Guyanese dude talk about hip-hop. Before we get started on today's episode, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Charles Pomparelli's Karate Class for Adults. Have you gotten jacked up recently? Has somebody made you run all your jewels? Well, you're in luck. Charles Pomparelli will teach you the basics, like the palm to the nose, the knee to the groin, so that next time you'll be jacking them up. If you don't get... Most importantly, you got to tie your Nikes up tight.
Yeah, double lace, yeah.
That's the first lesson. Tie your laces up tight.
Yeah, tuck your chains in. Yeah, tuck that shit in. Like.
Yeah. I've personally taken a few classes, and let me tell you something. Felt like an idiot in that gi. Okay, that's it. Welcome back, guys.
You just felt like an idiot.
To those first-time listeners, hello, welcome. We are a show of music appreciation, almost entirely hip-hop. That's our cross-section.
I thought you were going to say almost to a fault.
I think we're perfect. I don't think we...
Yeah, it's not a fault.
That's why it's almost to a fault.
Okay, almost to a fault, but near perfection.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Music appreciation. We each one of us takes turns picking an album in the world of hip hop that we love, that we want to talk about. And what we do, this is not a review show. We're not sitting here letting you know our thoughts on the new so and so album, whether or not you think we think it's worth your time. Every album we pick on this show, is something we really love, and we dissect it. We go into it. What is it about this particular piece of music that either we just discovered in love, or something that's been with us for a long time? Like, why is this ingrained into my brain in such serious detail? It's a show about appreciation. Why are things great? What is greatness? And on the note of greatness, this episode was my turn, and I picked Wu-Tang Forever. I think it's crazy, guys, that I don't know how many shows in we are. We started recording right when COVID hit is when this show started, and we have not done a Wu-Tang Clan album. We've done Wu-Tang solo albums and Wu-Tang adjacent
collabs, yep.
Wu-Tang adjacent albums, side projects, but we have not. I mean, considering my level of Wu obsession, Dion's level of Wu fandom, even Gary's love for a bunch of the Wu albums, I can't believe we haven't done a Wu-Tang album. I think that's crazy. But at any rate,
I'm not surprised. It's actually kind of perfect that we haven't yet, because we've talked, as you said, about all the Wu adjacent stuff. And I'm thinking Wu adjacent and also Wu derivative, right? Like everything was so influenced that we listened to, especially post 1997, by the Wu, right? And all these amazing projects involving members of the clan as solo artists. So it's as if we were talking about Wu the whole time. Now we're just getting to the root.
100%. And what is Wu-Tang Forever to me? It is hands down my favorite of the Clan albums. One of my all-time greatest albums in any genre of music, like in that list. And before anyone hears me say that and go, what about 36 Chambers? I get it. I know 36 Chambers, by and large, is the way more important album. I love it. I know it inside and out. It's one of my favorite albums ever. And I also get that the sum of all of 36 Chambers parts is greater than what Forever has to offer, because 36 Chambers is a flawless masterpiece, and you can't say that about Forever.
You can't.
But what Forever does have, and we'll get into it, I'm sure. But by and large, why is it my favorite Wu-Tang album? Because each one of the artists in the Wu-Tang Clan had, from the end of 93, working on several of their solo albums, RZA perfecting his craft. So the artistry, I think, this is the Wu-Tang's creative peak and artistic peak as the clan.
As the clan, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I think
that's an important note.
Of course. And I think as lyricists, they all became their own artist at this point, whereas they were all for the success of 36 Chambers was they were all one for all type, sharing an energy. I think a lot of them didn't become their own characters yet, and their own personality wasn't really developed in the way that they are all fully fleshed out, developed artists by this point. And I think you'll get the best Wu-Tang verses ever on this album. The production value and the production choices that RZA makes are so masterful on this album. So the highs are the highest you'll ever get, as high as Wu-Tang get. That's a track. But the heights that they reach on this album are higher than you'll ever hear on any other Wu-Tang album, in my opinion. But that being said, there's also some lows, and there's also it's an imperfect album for sure. I will never argue and say that this is a perfect album. It's not. And we'll go into that as well, I think. But yeah, I wanted to just, put that out there. Like, this is my favorite Wu-Tang album. It's the one I've listened to more than any of the others, and I'm obsessed with Wu-Tang. So that being said, Dion, I know you're pretty much very well versed and familiar with this album. Gary, I gotta ask, I feel like this is one of those albums that maybe wasn't in your perpetual playlist as a high school kid and into college. So what was it like for you either discovering or rediscovering this album as a whole, not just the famous songs?
Yeah, sure. Well, it was a rediscovering thing because this is so core to hip hop, and it's impossible not to have heard almost every song on this album.
Oh, okay. Like
I didn't many times, right? So it was all real. Like almost all of it was really familiar. I haven't thought about it as a cohesive piece of music before. So it was kind of like the beats, rhymes, and life experience for me a little bit. Like, oh yeah, these are the songs that define the genre, of course. And did they happen to be landing on or many of them anyway, right? Like they happen to be landing on this album that I haven't thought to listen to. And, I heard that it's kind of like the album before Wu-Tang as an entity became more of a bunch of, individual solo careers and stopped being Wu-Tang as a collective clan. They couldn't really hold it together. Given all the different personalities and careers and after this, right? So that kind of made me previously not so excited to listen to the album. I thought, all right, well, this is probably going to sound like the end of an era, but really this is just the rest of the common material that's put out there, right? So it was more like watching the Avengers movie, right? It's like here they are all together. They're going to be a bunch of separate movies and TV shows and collaborative adventures outside of this, but this is kind of canon. You got to listen through this if you're gonna appreciate the rest of the music.
Essential listening for sure, and I love that Avengers analogy. You're not the first person. A lot of people compared the Wu-Tang Clan to the Avengers, this like team that separates and has their own adventures and then reforms when it's time to save the world again. Yep. We were roommates for a while. I know this album bumped a lot, but I also know that by and large, 36 is where you are most familiar. Yeah. Which is to anyone listening, that makes complete sense. 36 is, I'm sure we'll do it one day, but it is a masterpiece of an album. But I really am interested because you and I have had these talks many times, many, probably hundreds of times, over a blunt or over, a drink, just saying, bro, Wu-Tang Forever has it's meth. It's the best meth you'll ever hear. The best Inspector Deck. You know, like just like me obsessively trying to be like, go listen to Wu-Tang Forever. So I gotta ask what your initial takes are, and what was it like getting reacquainted again?
Yeah, so like, you know, I'm realizing, yeah, you're absolutely right. 36 for me is like that's like my favorite Wu-Tang album. But after listening to this over the last like several weeks, or sorry listeners, I mean 1 week, right? Yeah, it only took us 1 week to record this.
I think this was like a month and a half.
Yeah,
but yeah,
But in listening to it, and especially in like my deeper listens, I fully realize and recognize why this is your favorite Wu-Tang album. It has got, I mean, first of all, I make it no secret, my favorite hip hop song of all time is on this album, Triumph. Which is regarded by many people, like I'm not reinventing the wheel here. A lot of people regard it as one of the, if not the greatest song. Has Dex arguably best verse of his career, like of a lot of rappers' careers. People regard it as one of the, if not the best verse ever in hip hop.
Hey, how does that verse start, by the way? Just to like trigger this memory.
Bomb atomically.
Yes, that one.
Socrates. Yeah, okay. We'll
break
that down.
We're gonna
we'll break that
whole thing on that.
Yeah.
But no. Overall, my takeaway from this, I got some new favorite. Like, granted, like you said, I've been listening to this album for decades, right? But in this, like, you know, listen for this show, I have some new favorite Wu-Tang songs coming from this album that I didn't realize. I didn't realize were favorites before. More than this Triumph. So this was definitely fun. There was of course there's lows on it, but any album that has 27 songs across 2 discs, you know, and that, for me, that was actually, I think, looking back, like probably a reason why I didn't listen to it as much. It just simply was long, and 36 Chambers was just an easier album to sort of get through.
They should have just gone for 36 tracks. Well, let's stop at 27.
and on that note, because I don't think we're going to spend too much time on the negatives on this awesome album, but on that note, I'd say the thing I always go back to with Forever is if they just cut some songs, right? I could name about 5 songs that if they cut.
Black Shampoo.
I mean, listen, I know it's like, it's almost like a cult classic song, but dog shit. Does it need to be on this album?
You know what's funny? I do, but
okay.
You know, we're on that right now. So that was.
Like, can we describe that song? Like, what is this song?
So here's the thing about dog shit.
Oh,
like, it's ODB at ODB's best, right? And the thing with that song is like, I do think it needs to be on a band, and the reason is, it's sandwiched in between like some intense songs with some intense subject matter. Yeah. So it's almost like it's like the butter knife, just like cutting the tension. Like, you got a little comic relief in there, but it's not just a comic relief. Like, it's still like, it's a skillful song if you like listen to it. Like, it's silly ass shit he's talking about, but it's like, you know, it's like a 4th grader. It's like a really, really skillful 4th grader. Not saying, and before fucking hate it, I'm not saying that ODB was a fucking 4th grader. I'm just saying he's rhyming about fucking dog shit. The name of the song is called Dog Shit. So yes, you know, so but no, I there are a couple songs that could be cut. I don't think Dog Shit is one. I think Dog Shit is perfect right where it is, because it's a Wu-Tang album, and you know what, ODB is just as much a part of Wu-Tang as everyone else, and this was an ODB song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? That's one of the games I play sometimes. I go, if I was RZA, which song would I cut? Which songs would, like, how could you make this album a little more concise and a little more of a smooth listen? I don't really know. And I always go back to this. What I was thinking of in this last few times we were, listening, getting ready for this, is, you know how in the modern era, the rapper releases the album, and then 2 weeks later they release the deluxe version, and then 2 weeks later after that they release the ultra deluxe version, right? I feel like
Wu-Tang Busta did with the LE2 recently. Right?
Exactly. I feel like Wu-Tang Forever is the ultra deluxe version without the original release. Right?
Because they said, fuck all that, we're going to do it anyway.
They needed to do it ultra deluxe. There were going to be, how many Wu-Tang members on this album? 27 tracks is going to be ultra deluxe. But you know what? Because of the connection between RZA and Old Dirty Bastard, right? Going back, long time. I think that there was enough trust and understanding. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They're family, literally family. But I think that they were making music together for a long time. And I think I think RZA understood the genius and the special flavor that ODB would bring, even with a silly song like Dog Shit.
Yeah.
Right. Like he knows that's going to make that's a jewel. It's a jewel on the crown.
Exactly, Gary. And to go off of that point, the last thing I was going to say about it, Ben, is it is say what you will about it. It is one of the most memorable songs on this album. For better or worse, it is one of the most memorable songs on this album. Yes. And I keep finding myself it popping into my head like randomly as I've been listening to this album like over the last few weeks, and I'm like, all right, yeah, and like a smile comes to my face. I'm like, this is a hard album. This is it's like obviously from the streets, but like I still find myself like just cracking a smile whenever I think about this track. So I love it, man. I love it.
Listen, I get it, and the truth is, I don't think you can make this. I don't think you can cut any song from this album. This album is what it is. Yeah. It is amazing, and it has a lot, and it's sprawling and a bit bloated, but I listen to it all the time. I still love it. So I think we should spend a little bit of time examining the evolution that the Wu went through getting to this album, and the decision-making process in the recording and execution of this album, because it's really fascinating, if you ask me.
Can we preface this, Ben, with an example of what the execution looks like? And I mean, I'm going to attempt to mimic this a little bit, but like the song you brought up in the beginning, As High as Wu-Tang Get,
such a good song.
The chorus is so memorable and weird in the same it's ODB again.
Yep.
As high as Wu-Tang get, allow us to pop this shit just like black shoe fit. If you can't wear it, well, don't fuck with that. That's the verse. Who thinks that is a verse to put on a song that's going to sound great?
Chorus.
It sounds amazing.
So, Dion, you used the word earlier, hard. Okay, this is the hardest shit. It is. This album went triple platinum, triple fucking platinum. There is not one pop radio friendly song on it. It is the hardest shit to ever go triple platinum.
Yeah, their biggest hit from this song is a 6-minute song with no chorus. And it got radio play, and it's incredible. It really is incredible.
That decision, that's like the genius of RZA, right? The genius of going, we just recorded this insanely hard album, and by the way, the first single is going to be a 6-minute straight song with 9 guys rapping on it, no chorus. And it's going to be the most confusing lyrics you ever fucking heard. No one's going to understand it right away. That's going to be our single to start this fucking process of getting this album out there. Triple platinum, guys. You listened to this album a lot recently. Think about that. Think about other albums that went triple platinum. Think about other albums that sold even remotely close to those numbers. None of them are this free.
So what's an example of that? Like Britney Spears' albums make triple platinum? Like
probably Britney Spears,
Frank
Insane,
Sinatra,
Free Britney,
Biggie. I'm sure Life After Death sold that well or close to it.
Right.
This was really the year of the double CD, 97. So RZA, right? I think about all of the work that was put into this album, and let's talk. Can we just briefly talk about the road from 1993 to 1997? What that road looked like getting here, because I think that's an important part of appreciating this album. Right, like I said in the beginning, 36 Chambers. You have a bunch of really raw talent, not uncultivated, but the swords were still being sharpened.
Yeah,
for most of them as lyricists.
Gary, I know you haven't watched much of the Hulu show on Wu-Tang about Wu-Tang. But they start talking about, like, the season 2 is filming right now, which they focus on them recording 36, but they start to in season 1 when they're literally still teenagers. Mm-hmm. Right, so like Ben, exactly to your point, like they're like, you want to talk about raw talent, like literally kids when they started working on it.
Right, and what you had was one man's insane drive and dedication and faith in himself, right? Helming this creative process and then just kind of being like, yo, I'm surrounded by incredible untapped talent.
Some of them even hate each other. But
right. I mean, and that, right, exactly. But like he brought them together and they all kind of were one for all with this energy that was so focused in 36. And then and we spoke about the incredible, groundbreaking deal where they all were able to sign individual contracts outside of the group with any label they wanted, right? Then you get these RZA produced solo albums. This 93 to 97 is the golden era of Wu-Tang Clan, right? You get 36 and then you get Liquids. I'm gonna go out of order. Oh no, I'll try to do it in order. You get Tikal by Method Man. You get Cuban Links by Raekwon. You get Liquid Swords by GZA. You get Return to the 36 Chambers by Old Dirty Bastard. You get Iron Man by Ghostface Killah. Right? Those all came out and they're all certified, undeniable hip hop classics. Some of them masterpieces. My favorite album ever is Liquid Swords. And RZA, right, produced every one of those albums. So they all shared this Wu-Tang vibe and
DNA,
feel,
basically.
DNA. And RZA, worked on his craft. This is not RZA's second album. This is RZA's 8th or 7th album or something like that. You know what I mean? So he had so much practice in honing and developing his craft by the time this album came out that his approach to music changed so much, whereas 36 was these incredible loops that he found, these crazy samples and loops, and his ear of putting mismatched sounds together in a very dusty, creative, funky way created a sound, really like shaped the New York sound for the next several years. But by the time you got to 97, RZA was doing way more composing of actual music, way more use of his own instrumentation, and way more arrangement within the song, where you start hearing these like random sounds that'll only happen once or twice in a song, and they're not in sync, and and it's just like his mind is being like tapped into. You hear like if you really listen intently to these beats, they are so sprawling and complex and all over the place, And in the same way he shaped the sound of New York from 36 Chambers and on, once this album came out, before this, you didn't really hear a lot of those string samples, right? You didn't hear strings and violins and things of that nature being sampled. And then after this album, think about 98, 99, 2000, it became the staple of the New York sounds, sampling string arrangements. You know what I mean? So much of the evolution of the Wu-Tang sound is like epitomized here.
By the way,
speaking of pits, like when did Gravel Pit come out? Before or after this?
That was on the W,
that's W.
2000.
Yeah.
I like that song.
Sorry, what were we saying?
No, I was just saying, Ben, you mentioned string arrangements. Funny you mentioned that on Reunited. I'm not sure if you know this, but that violin like solo you hear at the end, that wasn't a sample. That was a violinist, an Israeli violinist, Miri Ben Ari, who is in plenty of other hip hop songs, which I didn't even realize. She does violin in Overnight Celebrity by Twista, We Gon' Win by Styles P, a bunch of Kanye songs, Fallin' by Alicia Keys.
Was this her first one?
I don't think so. It might have been because she's pretty young, so she would have been really young when this came. So this very well might have been her first, but she actually won a Grammy for co-writing Jesus Walks. She's
what a cool gig.
Yeah.
What a cool gig doing Wu-Tang Forever. That's badass.
Yeah. Born and raised in Israel, classically trained in violin, and she's like the hip hop violinist. She has been for the last several decades. She's still working. I'm pretty sure. So you mentioned about string arrangement. That's like RZA would have on 36 would have never had an actual violinist come in. And,
he didn't have access.
He didn't have access. He would have figured out how to play the violin himself, if anything.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
Here's something that really impressed me when I was learning about this album and how it came together is sticking with the Avengers theme. RZA was kind of like the Nick Fury, right? He kind of brought together all these people that really didn't need to make another piece of music, and I think had together, right? He brought together personalities that they come from the same place, had a lot in common, but like. These are people with difficult lives that went their separate ways and were comfortable in some of them for the first time, right? And they didn't have to do this, but he brought them together and arranged them and got everybody excited to make a legit, unique, solid attempt at a piece of music from the heart. When they're not hungry anymore, right? It wasn't a 36 chamber situation anymore. And as you mentioned, Dion, I think like they had contracts that are that didn't force them to work together in this way. So I was just super impressed by that, just getting everybody in the space, in the same mindset. I was like watching some of the old videos that had like the crazy Wu-Tang camo outfits in the desert.
Yeah,
weird,
camo
right? Like that, so funny, so like ridiculous, right? Somebody had to think about that and put that all together and make it legit for the rest of the crew. That's RZA.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's RZA.
I mean, largely, right? To large extent, I have to think.
I think RZA is. You mentioned Nick Fury. I think RZA is actually Nick Fury and Tony Stark as one.
Yep.
Right? Because
I'm sorry, D. Ghostface is Tony Stark.
You're right. I know. That's why I know. I knew you were gonna say that. But just in practice,
right?
Yeah. But anyway,
no, I got you. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I had to do it.
Well, he's Tony Stark's, not Tony Stark.
Yes, exactly. That's true.
Good point.
That's like when Vanilla Ice sampled Queen Under Pressure. You ever see this video where he got sued because he didn't clear that sample of Under Pressure?
Yeah.
And the way he explained, he goes, no, the sample's totally different. Theirs goes dun 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 dun, and mine goes dun 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 dun. See, I added a dun.
Is that wrong?
So yes, I think you cannot overstate the accomplishment of RZA here. On that note, Gary, getting them all to come back in and give. I will say this. This is some of their best work. And illustrious careers, all of them. I'm not saying they didn't do amazing stuff after that. But in my humble opinion, okay? It's not that humble, but my opinion. You're going to hear the zenith of a lot of their careers right here. Inspector Deck, who, again, he's my favorite. On Clan albums, he is the MVP for me. He's so incredible and the most, I will say it till I'm blue in the face, the most underrated and underappreciated MC of all time. Deck's best shit is on this album.
Literally. Like
Method Man's, in my opinion, just my opinion, these are the best Method Man verses you will ever hear.
Yeah, interesting. I'll let you finish your list, but I haven't thought about that. Go on.
Okay. You God, who's not my favorite member, and after this really didn't do much that, again, no offense, I don't it's not like I dislike hearing him.
Busy being a god, man. Come on.
I hear you, but this is the best. Some of the illest shit comes out of You God on this album.
I 100% agree with you on that. Like yeah.
Master Killer's verses are so creative on this album and so fucking out there, but really, really good. RZA's best verses you will ever hear RZA spit are on this album. So that's really what it comes down to. Is, to me, you're just hearing them at their most energetic peak and creative peaks as lyricists. And you know me, lyrics gotta be at the forefront of an album, or I'm not gonna go back to it. So yeah,
I think I have a theory for why that is, by the way, Benny, why everybody was so good on this album. And I think it's ODB. I think it's the presence, unfortunately, the last time that he'll be in that group, creating music with the whole team there. I think because he's so out there with his music and the way that he lives and his voice, and the shit that he says, that I think it changes it shifts the center of gravity for the entire group. Everybody's completely free to do their wildest, best shit because you've got ODB here who doesn't live by the rules of society. Right? Like this guy is like living in his own state of nature, more or less, which is like, I mean, I say that with full admiration. I think it's amazing that, I guess like post-success, ODB was like not like any other post-success celebrity besides maybe Britney. It's like very volatile life. Didn't get a whole lot out of his early fame the way that other people did in terms of security and stability, and was just like living like he's in a Western, like an old school Western movie or something. But because of that, bringing that energy to the album, that really comes through not only in his verses, but in like, I mean, I didn't hear a lot of Capadonna before this album. And,
he wasn't technically on the album.
Yeah,
he wasn't technically Wu-Tang before.
Bingo, right. But like, I think they wanted to get him on there. He's on there. But like, man, that was really good. That surprised the hell out of me. And I have to say, in part, it has to be because of the kind of wide berth that they all had on this album.
I think that it's got to be a necessary. I think that you're onto something, Gary. I think just the presence of such a wild creative energy has to, either through osmosis or direct appreciation, influence the art that the other brothers are making. You know what I mean? Absolutely, I agree with that. I just, I also think that, you alluded to it, Gary, you mentioned it. This was the last time that you get a Wu-Tang album where, by and large, everyone was there for the betterment of the Wu-Tang Clan. Every subsequent album after this, you could hear the disillusionment, and I love the W. I love Iron Flag. I really do love those albums. I listen to them all the time. But you do start to hear the rift and the lack of dedication to making Wu-Tang the illest shit, and kind of some people phoning it in more than others. And once you get to 8 Diagrams, I think GZA's on one song, and maybe Ghostface, or either Ghost or Raekwon, are only on 1 or 2 songs, and you could tell it's like,
it's funny. It actually started behind the scenes on this album. Like, on Reunited, Meth said he wasn't originally supposed to be on that track. It was just supposed to be RZA and GZA, like, and ODB, like basically the old all together now crew. And he just happened to be in the studio and kind of just pressured RZA into letting him come on the track. But his reasoning was, like, he wasn't trying to be selfish. His reasoning, according to Meth, was that he was trying to be more of a team player, where like he was basically sort of putting the blame on RZA and GZA. Like, they were trying to like sort of do their own thing on a Wu-Tang track, and Meth is like, no, fuck all that. Like, this is a Wu-Tang album. I want this to be all Wu-Tang. Like, so even that like kind of like disconnect. And I'm sure if you ask RZA and GZA, they'll say something different about that day of recording. But like, it's funny that it even started behind the scenes on this. They're only their second album, but like when you have 9 guys that end up being 10 guys plus Capadonna, half of which become superstars. Yeah, it's not that surprising, But I'm just glad that they're relatively at least still together to this day. They're not pumping out albums as much, but like just the fact that they're still boys and everything, like that's good on them. But yeah, like you said, like you hear it more in later albums, but that shit definitely started here.
I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't seen Of Mics and Men, the Wu-Tang docu-series, go watch it. It is enlightening. And it was really the subsequent tour for this album where the cracks started to show. Where the people who became superstars wanted to be treated like superstars and felt they were. And I have no comment on whether or not, my opinion on it really is inconsequential. It doesn't matter. But, some people felt they deserved more money. Some people felt they were being screwed over by the original Wu-Tang production scheme of things and how money was being distributed. So there's a lot. It was after this magnificent, gigantic success, behemoth of an album, that like the egos started to, the entities weren't everyone doing it for RZA, who was at the helm, but it was everyone wanted to be their own man after this, But let's not focus on that. let's fucking talk about how, again, going back to how non-pop this fucking album is. Okay, I think there's maybe on the 27 tracks, I'm just throwing this random number out, but I think maybe 4 hooks. And everything else is just beats and rhymes.
It's amazing.
Can you imagine that? Can you think about like how huge this album was? And it was just really strange beats and rhymes that people still don't understand. Lyrics that you could still not really understand to this day. You'd have to be like a 5%er who literally speaks in the same exact style and slang to really understand what the fuck they're talking about on a lot of this stuff.
RZA actually talks about it on a skit at the end of Bells of War. Which and he also gets a little bit of foreshadowing too for themselves, but like he basically like, yo, like, you know, you don't gotta go to summer school, just pick up a Wu-Tang double CD, you get all the education you need for this year. And then he goes on to say, like, again, it's part of a skit, like it's just like him quote unquote talking to someone else, but he's basically saying, it's like, yo, the beats, the lyrics, like people don't understand this, people are not gonna get this. And he's like, he literally says, like, I think it's gonna take people until the year 2G, and that's when he says the next Wu-Tang album ain't even gonna come out until 2000. Which it did.
Which absolutely.
The W was the next album that came out in 2000. But yeah, no, man. I mean, it's RZA. Of course, he had a plan. You know what? I take it back. I don't think it was foreshadowing. That was actually RZA planning. I think that was RZA in '97, knowing full well that another Wu-Tang album wasn't going to come out for another 3 years. Which makes sense from 36 to this, the 4 years. So they got enough time for individual albums to come out in between and then promote like the next one. So it makes sense. Yeah, it wasn't foreshadowing. This was all part of his plan. If you know anything about RZA, you know that is a man with a plan. So
right. And let's talk about those songs where there isn't any hook, because I think some of those songs are like the greatest. Like, we could talk about Triumph. You know, I think we should break down
do a whole episode on Triumph. Seriously.
Really. And I think we should really spend some time on Triumph, but let's talk about the other no hook beats and rhyme songs that are so fucking dope. Okay,
let's talk about this Capadonna song. Let's talk about
which one?
The song Maria with Capadonna on it.
Oh,
right? When he's talking about it's a song about macking. I don't know if there's a hook here. I think the whole thing hooked me. I thought it was hilarious.
There's no hook. Yeah,
he's saying, you walk by me smelling like watermelon. You might make me a felon. My eyeball swelling. My nuts start yelling. Excuse my prick. We have to want to have a talk with you. I'm sick. My medicine is, can I walk with you?
It's such a dope bar. Such a great way to put macking. Yeah, man, for sure.
It's like it's not. It doesn't rhyme particularly, in like a predictable way. It's like, it's kind of a mess. It sounds so good. It's novel. It gets the moment and the message across. Like it's something I'll never forget.
Capadonna is the king of that shit. He doesn't really have a straightforward rhyme scheme. Some of it's kind of messy, but he'll say some shit. His verse. I'm sure you haven't heard this song, Gary, but go check out the song "Winter Wars." It's a Ghostface song.
Oh my god, that song's amazing.
But like, it's Kappa's closing verse on that song. He goes, dial 917-160-49-311. You could get long dick hip hop perfection.
Winter Wars is one of my favorite Wu-Tang songs. It's actually on the Sunset Park soundtrack, if you remember.
No, it was
it was. It may be on another album, but I'm telling you, it was on a Sunset Park.
I thought it was on "Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood" soundtrack.
Oh, you might be right, actually.
Why not both?
It might have been. Might have actually been both. I think they both came out in the same year.
But
either way, like, I know what I'm saying though is I honestly don't even know what Wu-Tang album it's on. It may not even be on a Wu-Tang album.
It's on Iron Man.
It's on Iron Man. Okay, right. But yeah, and the beat on that song too. I know, we have 27 songs to get through this. We don't need to add another one. But yeah, Gary, check out Winter Wars. That song is fucking dope.
Yeah, but Kappa is that guy. He's like always comes with that like interesting, kind of surprising you how and where he's gonna rhyme, but he always says some really cool shit. Let's talk about. Totally. Can we talk about? So let's just talk. The album opens with Reunited. We kind of broke that down. Excellent song. Just kind of reacquainting ourselves with where Wu-Tang's at. Every verse is phenomenal. RZA's verse on Reunited that might be the greatest RZA verse ever. The Riddler, Funny Bone Tickler, V Caligula, Pistol Dick, Stigma, Fertilizer. I can't say it off the top of my head, but shit is fire. And he has a line on that where he he says, attack when you least notice. Attack when you least notice through explosive postage. That whole segment. Again, I wish I never fucking take notes. I should have wrote that verse down.
I got it right.
Can you just read like the like a little before that?
Yeah. Hard to edit. Directors, I never understood it. Too impulsive. My deadly corrosive dosage. Attack when you least notice through explosive postage. I don't play the rat souffle. Saute for day. Saute for the day. Ruler zigzag. Zigzag. Ziggle. I can never. I can never get zigzag.
Wait. He goes ruler zigzag zig a leg arm head.
Yeah. Spread like plague. We drink Hennessy by the keg. Yeah.
I got the golden egg plus the goose. Mix the absolute with cranberry fruit juice.
Cranberry fruit juice. Yeah. 80 proof absolute mix of cranberry fruit juice.
So like let's talk like RZA's let's call it what it is. It some people would call that a speech impediment.
Sure.
But he flexes it in such a way where it sounds
cool.
dope.
Yeah.
Mixed with
it's not an
cranberry.
impediment.
He calls it cranberry fruit juice. And it wouldn't sound better if he said it.
Yeah, it's not impeding him. It's not
King's
impeding
English.
Not only that, but like this is like, all right, it's RZA not only with like a apparent speech impediment, but also talking about some nerdy ass shit, which RZA's been doing for like since the beginning of his career, and it still sounds cool. Like it sounds like he's making this shit cool. Like like even like just in the beginning, talk strange like Bjork, great hero Jim Thorpe, like talk, like the things that he's mentioning. It's like this is some nerd shit, but like it's great. It's great.
Yes, and there's so many more RZA verses. This the RZA verse on what's the song after Triumph? What's it called?
That is Impossible.
Yo, RZA's verse on Impossible. I mean, crazy. But then when it consumed planets like Unicron, blasting photon bombs out the arm like Galvatron, bro, that's a Transformers reference.
Yo,
it's just crazy.
That verse is great. It's not even the best verse in that fucking song.
I know.
It's just like another testament to this fucking album. That Ghostface verse is considered like Ghost's favorite verse of his career, and RZA considers it the best Wu-Tang verse in Wu-Tang history.
That's the story about the call the ambulance. He's been shot. That one, so all right. Wait. I'm sorry. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Can we talk about? Yeah. I'm sorry. Disc 1, okay? Because this is one of those double CDs where I always with my Wu-Tang friends. It was, are you a Disc 1 guy or a Disc 2 guy?
Yeah, you asked me that too.
I was talking to you about this, D. Disc 1 is where it's at for me. Okay, if I had to pick one, because it starts off so strong and just really doesn't dip. You have Visions. Okay, that song, I think Dion, that's produced by Inspector Deck.
That's the one, that's produced by Inspector Deck. Yep.
So, Visions, oh my God. Just starting off with Meth, Apocalypse Now. Mind over matter, next batter be the cow. Put it on a platter, how much untouched. Raw shit we dealing with, murder track, what slang killing it. Like meth bouncing in the best possible meth fashion, just meth on meth on meth. Not really on meth, but and then did somebody go between Meth and Master Killer on that?
Right.
I know.
Right.
Oh, right. Raekwon murders it, and then you get Master Killer, right? And the vibe changes up on it. All of a sudden, as my brothers and I reign rebellious, change in the courses of time. Devils no longer exist, says God cipher divine. All minds one. What is it? Whatever.
All minds one, no question. Now check it. Yeah.
Perhaps we could go through lessons, or might shock me a pussy protestant coming with that lip professing. You must take a law for a fool. Where's your jewels? Did you using mathematic like a tool? It's just like the way he's not rapping in any type of way you would expect, but he's also
he doesn't
no, exactly. He's always out of pocket in a awesome way, but he's like lecturing you and just kind of making these statements, and you don't really understand, or I don't really understand them still, in total honesty, but they're just like, he's just basically saying, this is why we are so much fucking better than you. You know what I mean? And then he wraps up the verse before seeking where you went wrong and why must we bring you such physical harm, right? And then
it's a legit question.
And then all of a sudden, right after that long, like these like long sentences that aren't super energetic but very impactful and powerful, then you get Deck, okay? And this is where Inspector Deck, I just feel like the reason he's the MVP is because on a fucking album like this with this many gods of MCing, right? After that incredible Meth verse, that incredible Raekwon verse, after that impactful, awesome Master Killer verse, you get Deck's energy, right? Just comes in like a fucking ninja star chopping your head off. Mine, arson, my squadron surround the sound garden, guns for hire, plus you under fire in the target, sniper in the cipher. I'm blanking on the rest, but it's just
I Pied Piper. I moved the housing by the thousand. I watched out the Chrysler.
Rhyme slice your mic like the mighty Thor, crash your door, something on the shore. He goes, 2 pulls, I'm wild like mechanical bulls. Packed a full house, it's girls' night out, you need a handful. Heavenly laced stimulation, make you feel slow. It's just like, yo, the way Deck flexes on that fucking song, his rhythmic sense, his multisyllabic rhyming, his fucking attack, his approach, it's so fucking masterful. Like, I literally just thinking, every time I hear that song, every time I hear Deck come in and flex on that song, I go, oh my God, this is God level music making. Just so impactful.
I know we're on Visions, but another track one, disc one track, For Heaven's Sake, also has another Deck just masterpiece of a verse. Like, these bars: boom master with the faster blade, track slasher, manufactured poems and microphones, bones fracture, limited edition composition, spark friction, non-fiction, the calm bomb, keep your arms distant. Like, I fucked up
dominant
the flow, but
intelligence.
Like,
oh my God.
And it's the thing with Deck is like it's not just like the way he puts together the words and like how it all makes perfect sense. Yep. Like nothing about this is nonsense, but the flow too. Like he somehow maintains this like Deck flow that just like keeps you just doing this. Like,
it's what it
with the
what
stink
it
face,
is.
you know, with the stink face, just like like,
yes, he has such an incredible sense of rhythm, right? Some people you just think are born to make music, and he's one of those people. His rhythmic pockets and sense of where his vocal instrument should land within the set beat is so crazy. How you could, that's like, to me, that's your internal metronome. His metronome is just set to some fucking black belt shit.
You know what I mean? He reminds me of? He reminds me of like a dude walking down the street, right? You don't think much of him, but like there's like 2 people playing double dutch, and he just walking past and just all of a sudden gets in, does flips, like goes back and forth, does around, whatever. Like you don't know how the fuck he's doing this and how he's keeping the rhythm, and then he just keeps it moving, and then he just keeps it moving. That is Deck. That is Inspector Deck.
Yes. 100%. Yo, D. Deck is the guy who just randomly walks into a double dutch and just flexes on him. He breakdances in the double dutch.
You're like, what the fuck? Is this dude wearing a North Face and Tim's? Did he just do a double, triple sock out? And like,
but you know what? That makes a lot of sense given the future projects he gets involved in. Dude is a versatile person. Could collaborate with a versatile, kind of diverse group of people. Listening to him as part of Czarface, like as part of our recent catalog of music that we've been listening to, right? Contemporary music, still at it, still doing double dutch,
killing it, man, killing it. Oh man, Visions. That's the song. That's the song that gives me chills every time I listen to it. How about Severe Punishment? Could we talk about that track, please? Gary, tell me what you thought of when you first heard "I despise your killing and raping. You're despicable. Are you my judge?"
I get it.
He goes, "Are you my judge? It's just you should be punished. I'm gonna chop off your arms. Are you ready?" Greatest kung fu sample Wu-Tang ever had, just from start to finish. Are you my judge? And then that beat, that fucking menacing beat. Dun, 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 dun.
The beats were extremely menacing.
It's the most dangerous beat.
It helps me to enjoy this album and songs like that when I think of it as like when I think of it in the same frame as I think of a Czarface album, really. Right? It's like you have to look at it as some like superhero, supervillain versus epic shit. Otherwise, it's like kind of random. Here's random violence at you with incredible style. Right,
but the randomness, Gary. The randomness. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm a terrible interrupter. But you brought up randomness, and that's one thing that I've heard this album described as in their writing process is stream of consciousness rap. Right. Yes, you'll get that Ghostface verse and a few other stories throughout, but by and large, I think they were just feeling the inspiration and just putting words together that don't necessarily form a cohesive thought, especially Ghostface. Ghostface made a whole album a few years later, Supreme Clientele, which where we're gonna get into, but literally where he's like, I wrote that album like on some tropical island. He goes, and my intention was not to make sense. He goes, my intention was not to make any sense at all, but just finding words that sounded cool together.
Well, there it is, right? There it is. So like there's different. You don't have to get the same thing out of every piece of musical work that you listen to, right? Like there is music that I listen to for driving or productivity, right? That like I would be averse. It would be damaging to hear very deep and meaningful lyrics in, right? There's also music that's just like energy. You get crazy energy and positive energy, and you hear clever shit. Like I get that kind of thing from listening to a Busta Rhymes album. Same thing as same kind of energy, same kind of unique take on the genre that I would get. I would expect to get from a Wu-Tang Clan album. That's the kind of enjoyment I get out of it. Like, don't get too like it's not. This isn't going to tell you how to live your life. You're not going to get deep reflections on your.
Except for on a better tomorrow.
Yeah, like you get a little bit of that, but like I'm not listening to it thinking, oh, I'm going to reflect on my life. This is going to teach me how to live. Right. No, you're listening to it for the energy and entertainment value and cleverness and rewindability.
Yes,
that you get a lot of out of these 27 tracks.
But Gary, it is pay attention rap in that when you do pay attention, even if you don't understand, because I don't understand a lot of this shit, I'll be honest. But it's sound, the words that they choose to say in pairing and conjunction with each other, and the way in which they flow it might as well make sense because it just sounds like beautiful music, and
for sure.
Their
and
ability
the makes sense, Benny.
And their ability to rhyme is the impressive part for me, and the choice of words, rhythm, and rhyme is still a masterwork, and it is pay attention rap in that way. You know what I mean?
Let me come back to this.
Yeah.
Let me come back to this, right? It's the same dynamic. I mentioned that it's like the same experience as like listening to a hype Busta Rhymes album. And I think that the experience, it comes down to this. The ideas are expressed in 4 to 8 bars. You get a concept from start to finish in all of its cleverness and creativity in about 4 to 8 bars in most songs, right? Like there's not like one, like there aren't many like stories from end to end kind of songs on this album. It's a lot of like, here's creativity in its extreme form in 4 to 8 bars.
Yeah, and the stream of consciousness, I like that. That describes it really well, right? Those bars that make sense, isolated, but then it's just kind of just like let the inspiration flow. It doesn't have to be a powerful statement. It doesn't have to be what's the opposite of nonsensical? Non-nonsensical. Cohesive. It doesn't have to be, anything besides dope. And it's very dope. You know what I mean? Like that stream, just putting ideas down, whether or not they make sense together. And that's the album. That's most of the album, Dion, do you have any favorite songs that you want to?
I got a few. So we're Better Tomorrow, since we're on that, is one of those, like, sort of, again, I know the song for a long time, but like now, like giving it a listen, I go, okay, no, this is definitely one of my favorite Wu-Tang albums. Like Deck's verse is amazing. Like it's like the first half of his verse, it's just like he's like subtly equating living in the projects to the Vietnam War, but like in a beautiful way that I know we just talked about. Like, a lot of lyrics on this album not really like making much sense, which I don't as much agree with both you guys in that. I think if you really pay attention, like quite a bit of this album makes sense, but but he puts that shit together, like, you know, he really paints that picture, and it's like, wow, yeah, no, like, you know, like, no one, you know, it's, yes, it wasn't an actual war that people are in the projects, but, you know, it ain't easy living. Like, there's like the way he like compares the things, like, oh yeah, that is similar, and like, but you still had that like sort of musical sort of backdrop to it, that you still nod your head and everything. One of my favorite, like, two bars from Deck. Not a role model, I walk a hard road to follow. I sold bottles of sorrow, then chose poems and novels. That's fucking that's sick. He's basically like, yo, don't follow me. I just write rhymes. Yo. Like, so yeah, better tomorrow for sure. It's Yours has always been one of my favorites. I remember, Gary, you may remember this as well, but Duke Nukem, there was an album. There was an album called Duke Nukem Music to Score By, which just was a compilation of it's just a compilation of different, like, just songs from all different genres. There's a Typo Negative song on there. There's an Exhibit, Seven Dust, Slayer, Megadeth, Beatnuts. And also Wu-Tang Is Yours is on it. So I'm even before like you know, really getting into Forever, just from that album alone, like, that was like a song that stuck out for me. It's like, oh shit, you got Wu-Tang on Duke? Hell yeah.
Duke Nukem's coming back as like a religion or something, not as a video game. It's too late for that.
Can it be both?
Well, let's talk about Triumph. Let's get there. Let's get there, D.
Did you think that you're not going to see me?
Yeah, man.
By the way, you know, so if we all know the video. The beginning, like, it's ODB on the roof, like, you know, he's doing his thing, whatever. You notice that he's wearing a mask, right? That's because that wasn't ODB. What happened is they're shooting the video, and because ODB didn't have an actual verse on it, like, he was on set, but I guess he just got pissed because he's like, no, fuck that. Like, if I'm not gonna have a verse, I'm just gonna walk out. So the dude literally walked out on set. So they just had to find like a stand-in, put a mask on him, and he, like, you know,
that's
like,
hilarious.
He like mimed ODB's parts. By the way, that was Brett Ratner, his first one of his first forays. That same year he directed another little movie called Money Talks. And the year after that, he directed an even smaller movie called Rush Hour.
I think at that point, D, that was the highest budget music video of all time.
I think about it. Yeah, it was just under a mil.
Yeah, come to think of it, Rush Hour had that Wu feel. You know?
Yeah, man.
Kind of did.
So let's talk about, you know, video aside, you could break down that video too as such a huge moment in '97. But let's just start with Deck, and I will say, in my opinion, it is the greatest hip hop verse ever spit.
I think it's got to be.
And it is the greatest verse by any Wu-Tang member. Easy for me, but greatest hip hop verse ever spit. It is a master work in multisyllabic rhyming, internal rhyming, rhythmic sense, lyricism, fucking swagger, energy,
everything.
Cadence. It is perfection. Okay? Did you know that verse was originally recorded
for a Tony Touch album?
A Tony Touch freestyle.
A freestyle. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't, you know, they call it a freestyle, but what that is throw a beat down. I got a verse in my head and I'm going to spit it.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
It's different. Like, I mean, it's obviously the same
It's
lyrics,
got a different energy.
Different energy,
sure.
Yeah.
And when RZA played that beat for Deck was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? So he called up Tony Touch. He's like, listen, I know like this is on your shit, but like, can I also...
I've been touched.
And Touch gave him Touch gave him the blessing, and, you know, the rest is history.
Could you fucking imagine if that verse just got buried on a random Tony Touch freestyle track? Like, which is exactly what would have happened.
That would be like the Inspector Deck Thundercats freestyle. Do you remember that shit from Napster? Go to YouTube when we're done with this. Search Inspector Deck Thundercats freestyle. That was like back in the Napster days where you would just type a rapper. You would type a rapper you like and then freestyle next to it to see if anything's there to download. And there's an Inspector Deck one where he's on the radio and he's fucking rapping about Thundercats. It's dope.
Nice.
Anyway, that verse, that verse should be examined by like English professors and studied as in the same way Shakespeare should be studied. I really mean that. chills every time you listen.
It's perfect. And then the way if you like, you know, listen to it while actually just reading the lyrics just to get like full like you know embodiment of what's happening. Like yeah, Ben, you're absolutely right. Like this is like it's flawless. Like
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what stands out for you in the lyrics?
So just like think about like let's just go let's actually do this. I'm sure we're not the first people to do this. Let's go word for word through that fucking verse, okay? To come in, right, on this debut single on the new album, right? To come in, first verse you hear, right? To declare that you bomb atomically. I know, listen, that it's become almost in the zeitgeist of like, you know, I bomb atomically is like, I think people who never heard Triumph have heard that at this point. But it's such a declaration in 3 words.
Declaration.
Hey. But like, it's 3 words basically saying exactly what he's here to do. Destroy everything. You know what I mean? So I bomb atomically. Socrates. So like here, let's go into the multisyllabic rhyming. Socrates, philosophies can't define while I be dropping these mockeries.
Oh, you forgot about hypotheses.
Socrates, philosophies, and hypotheses can't define what I be dropping these mockeries, right? That's just multisyllabic rhyming, just so perfectly done.
Lyrically perform armed robbery. Flee with the lottery. Possibly they spotted me. It's just a way he like arranges.
So this is 4 to 8 bars expressing an idea that in some ways is nonsensical. Besides, I'm nice and I get mad nice. I get so nice. I get so nice. Right. That's the idea. Right. Doesn't mean it's like it's not going to tell me how to live my life. I'm not going to get anything deeper out of it besides feeling hype.
And I wasn't asking for that from him.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It does, and it doesn't need to be because of how masterfully crafted the rhyme scheme is. Just. You know, and again, once you get to flee with the lottery, right, then you've changed perspectives. You're not necessarily talking about how nice he is now. Now it's like, okay, I just stole a bunch of money and I possibly have been spotted. But the way he says it, flee with the lottery, possibly they spotted me.
But hold on, he's still talking about rhyming though, because remember the previous lyric was lyrically perform armed robbery. Flee with the lottery, possibly they spotted me. So he's still talking about being nice.
It's in relation
it's amazing.
to that. Yes,
it's not totally random, right? It's just
not at all. It's not random at all.
And what I'm getting from it is, okay, so this is a guy talking about how really nice he is, how like super duper nice he is. Why do I care? And the reason is because it sounds so good and it's so nice. Clever the way that he's doing this.
Exactly.
I mean, this is genius. This is a genius way to say that you're nice.
It's the best. So nice. It's the best flexing of lyrical muscles I ever heard. And then he goes, battle scar shogun explosion when my pen hits tremendous ultraviolet shine blind forensics. I inspect you with the future C millennium. Killer bees sold 50 gold, 60 platinum. Shackling the masses with drastic rap tactics. Graphic display, melt the steel like blacksmith. Black Wu jackets, queen bees ease the guns down? Guns in.
Rumble with patrolmen, tear gas lace the function.
It's so dense. Think about all the words he said in this short verse. Think about all the fucking...
And the diehard fans still demand more, you know, surprisingly.
Yeah, dude, he's still, like, again, like, we're still talking about him being nice, but we're also bringing in that, like, criminal aspect to it. Like, we started with the lyrically perform on robbery, but we're still in that, like, sort of criminal mindset, right? With the shackling the masses, you know... and then we get on to the next one. Rumble with patrolmen, tear gas lace the function. Heads by the score, take flight, incite a war. Chicks hit the floor, diehard fans demand more. That's one of my favorite 2 bars on the whole thing because
what about the?
It's like basically he's like, yo, like my rhymes are fucking like, you know, they're so ill, they're causing riots, they're causing wars, and like, you know, those that don't want none are getting to the floor, but those who know what's up, they're like, yo, give me more. I want that war. I want more of that fucking violence. Like it's.
And then the closeout, right? Behold the bold soldier, control the globe slowly, proceeds to blow swinging swords like shinobi.
You guys remember the shinobi for Game Gear?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, man. Stomp grounds with pounds. Wait.
Stomp grounds and pound footprints in solid rock. Wu got it locked. Performing live on Yo Hottest Block.
Again, Gary, you're absolutely right. It's not gonna change your life. It's not gonna.
This shit changed my life. Fuck you.
You know what I mean.
I know
It's not gonna give you a moral.
But it's not gonna teach you how to live.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not gonna give you any moral lesson. There's no story. There's no narrative. But it is the greatest fucking verse ever spit. It is so. It's like just a master class in rhythm, rhyme, battle bars. It's just, it's everything.
And that's all I want. Like, I'm not coming to hip hop to teach me life lessons. Like, if that's what you're here for, like that's you know.
You could find it in hip hop.
Oh, sure, you could. Sure, you could find it. You could find it. But like, I'm not listening to a Wu-Tang album to get me life lessons.
Yeah,
except for Better Tomorrow. Except for Better Tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But you're getting something else out of it.
You get something else. Exactly.
You could say is equally valuable or more valuable.
Sure. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, man. Deck. Every one of Deck's verses on this album is it's just, you know, I can't say enough about it, and I can't say enough about how fucked up it is that he's been. The only people who know and love Deck are the hip hop heads out there, right? You're not gonna have the casual fan who knows Method Man, who knows Ghostface, who knows Raekwon. They don't really know Deck. They're not familiar with his work, and he's got some great solo shit too.
Benny,
and it's just
I could speak to as one of those people, right? Like you and Dion got me into Inspector Deck's work through our project together, and you know, I was thinking about this, like why? Because he's so core. His sound is so core to the Wu-Tang sound, even way back into 36 Chambers. It's almost like when you order Thai food or something, you know, it's like, oh, it all tastes like this, like flavoring, right? But it's like, there's like some sauce that they put in. Otherwise it's like, you know, noodles and rice and whatever else. It's like, oh, it's the sauce. He's the sauce.
He's the sauce.
That's why it tastes that way.
Yo, I would say RZA is the sauce. Deck is the shit that they put in Thai food that makes it so fucking
he's
hot.
the MSG. Yo, Deck is the MSG.
He's the hot pepper.
It doesn't quite taste the same without it. It's what makes it.
By the way, I didn't realize this until doing my research for this. Did you know that Triumph is the only Wu-Tang song that features all members ever?
Every single one.
All 10, including Capadonna and ODB.
I would argue that it doesn't really feature ODB.
Voices. I guess their voices. It features the voices of because there's no ODB verse, but even still, Ben, there's not even another song that comes close. Yeah, that even has his voice over.
The only other song that comes close would be Protect Your Neck.
But is Cap on that?
No
That's
Cap,
no
Master Killer.
And no Master Killer, right, exactly. This one has at least has verses from everyone and a little bit from ODB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man.
Also, Richard, just to wrap up something with that song, just to show how much of two peas in a pod Ray and Ghost are, and how much of best friends they are now. They're the only two who, if you notice, both of their verses start really rudely, right? Like Ray's verse starts like after who comes in before? Is it Master Killers before Ray?
I think it is either You God or it could be Master Killer.
It's Master Killer. It's Master Killer.
Okay.
So literally, Ghost, like, he comes in first and he goes, yo, fuck that. Right? It's like Master Killer's like, what the fuck did I do? What the fuck? And then Ray comes in right after that. Is the only other one with like a rude sort of intro. He goes, hey, yo, that's amazing. Like, basically, like, as a sarcastic, yo, that's cool, that's crazy. Yo, what about my shit? Like, I'm ready to split my
gun in your mouth. Yo, that just think about those first few words of Ray's verse. Yeah, hey, that's
amazing. Gun in your mouth.
Gun in your mouth. Talk.
Connect thoughts to make my man-child walk. But like, again, like, yeah, that's dope in itself. But again, the way it starts, like, just saying, hey, yo, that's amazing. It's like he's brushing off his friends. Like, yeah, that's cool. Now it's ready for my verse. Like, I just think that the way the two of them, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but like the way the two of them come in, like, they're just rude. They're just rude intros. I love it. I fucking love it.
Let's talk
Benny,
about.
I'm sorry. By the way, I did that to you in Hangouts the other day in our G chat.
It's okay.
You had written something important, and I had reacted to it before jumping into my own spiel.
Yeah, that's the story of my life on that G chat. Yeah.
All right. So I am learning about life from this album.
It's all good. Let's talk about Ray and Ghost a little bit, because I know we're going for it lengthwise with this episode, but let's talk about Ray and Ghost, right? So, you know, on 36 Chambers, I think they are the two most underdeveloped. Like they have not yet become Raekwon and Ghostface yet. In the characters, the flows, the lyricism, it all got so much better between their solo albums that came out before this and then this, right? And Ray and Ghost, it's the one rap duo that I feel didn't get the rap duo album they deserve. You know what I mean?
Right, and we talked about this a few weeks ago that like they didn't, but each of their solo albums are
their first two,
most of their first two are basically duet albums. Like
like Cuban Links is basically Raekwon featuring Ghostface in the whole album, and same for Iron Man.
And one of them actually, literally, the album says featuring. I forget which one. Is it
it's
Cuban Links?
Cuban Links.
Because
Ghostface is only not on, I think, 2 of those songs.
Right.
So it's literally that is the closest you're gonna get to Raekwon and Ghostface as a rap group.
They have one. Sorry, go on.
So let's just talk about it real quick. Let's start at Raekwon's verse on Triumph, right? Because I was just thinking about it. Raekwon has a word that I don't usually use in describing rappers, but what he has it in spades, and that's swagger. Right? Just his ability to, his flow is dripping with swagger. You know what I mean? Adjust the dosage, delegate my clan with explosives. Wow, my pen blow lines ferocious. You know, just like he's got this way, again.
The Mediterranean Sea, like that's all part of it too.
Yeah. He's just got this, he shares a bit of DNA in flow with Nas. And it's, it just in this like a slick swagger melodic musical way of being complex. It's very, he's got like a bebop rhythmic sense, and just like it's slick, and it's always kind of in the way that Inspector Deck has this like bars on bars on bars on syllables on syllables on syllables. Raekwon has a constant stream of rhythm throughout his songs that are a little less chaotic than Deck, but it's still it's complex in its own way. And I'm such an admirer of Raekwon's flex style, and it really, you didn't get that on 36, but you get it in spades here. The song MGM.
So that's what I was before you get to that. One of my favorite lines from Triumph real quick is tear down the beat god, then delegate the god to see God. Like he's God 3 times to that line. But to be honest, before again, Triumph, my favorite song of all time. I've heard this song countless times. Right. I didn't even realize, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together and realize he said the word God 3 times in the same bar. But the reason I didn't notice it is because it was so fucking organic.
Sounds so
it sounded
good.
Great.
Yeah,
it sounded great. But yes, MGM is that's some lyrical masterpiece. Like just back and forth story.
A rap duo in spades.
That is
telling a story together.
But it's not a story. That's the thing. It's not a linear story. What makes it so cool is that it's not linear. It kind of
feels like one.
It's more. It kind of is. But rather than that, it's kind of more just like two friends telling like their depiction of like their crazy night out that they had at a boxing match. But it wasn't. But it wasn't like they were telling like they kept on going with like every now and then and say, oh, this happened in the 7th round, this happened in the 10th round or whatever. But really, it was just like kind of like sort of their observations. Like, yo, this dude came in with a gun. This
It wasn't a beginning to end moral of the story type of situation.
Exactly.
But it was about their evening at a boxing match and like the anecdotes that occurred.
That's exactly what I mean. And that's why I said it's not really linear. It's not really a linear story, but it is a story. Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. It's like Pulp Fiction or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's dope.
And to be quite honest, I didn't get a chance to dive too much into how accurate it was that night. Because
that was a real night.
So Cesar Chavez and Sweet Pea Whitaker did actually fight at it's just hard to tell what day was it? Was it at MGM? But I think they had I think they might have had a few bouts in their careers. And also, I don't know if you realize, but the track before on Bells of War, there is a skit that not foreshadows, but like sort of is a precursor to this. It's when it's Ray. When they're talking about the boxers. And they're saying, Mike just got beat. Like, they're talking about boxing upsets or whatever.
Mike got touched.
Yeah, Mike got touched.
I love that.
Touched. Yeah.
But who Mike got touched by? Holyfield.
But then they mentioned like Sweet Pea Whitaker and I forget if they actually mentioned Chavez, but like that was in the track right before, and then the very next track you got like them talking about them going to a Sweet Pea Whitaker boxing match. Which, by the way, I've been to a boxing. The only boxing match I've ever been to was in Vegas. I think it was at it was either MGM Grand or Caesars. But this was, and the one I went to wasn't even like it wasn't like a big pay-per-view event or whatever. It was just like a regular boxing match, but it ain't nothing like it, man. Like if you guys ever get
the energy, huh?
The energy, and bro, like you feel every punch, like you feel it in your chest. Every single punch, it shakes the arena. Like it's incredible. Anyway, go check out boxing. Go check out boxing.
So Gary,
is it because of your enhanced empathy?
Okay,
a little bit.
Is empathy your superpower?
Gary, on that incredibly random note, what can you just hit me with some more shit that like really jumped out at you? Was there an artist who maybe you weren't overly familiar with besides Capadonna that you're like, oh wow, like so this is that human?
Yeah, well, I think Capadonna is the one that stuck out to me the most, and I think it's because I've heard the name before, but I just never cared at all, like to like go and explore and listen to this person's music. But like here it is.
Yeah, that's not.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And also, what struck me was just I don't know. I did take your advice and I did binge through a lot of the Wu-Tang documentary.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
awesome.
and that was actually really useful context. And I think that underlined for me just how amazing it is that this group of people like get together. Yes, they're making the same genre of music. They're coming from the same place. These are guys that hang out all the time. But like,
and they're from like the same like several mile radius. Like they're like this little minuscule speck of sand in the universe is where they all come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And like there's roots in Brooklyn, also in East New York, whatever. But it's like same speck of sand essentially, right? From like Brooklyn, Staten Island, like around that area, around that time. But it's amazing how they all kind of came together and created this. Like there are 9 MCs on there, but you guys know by name and are able to talk about their styles distinctly. More so than I can, but that's not unusual. But the unusual part is that like we're not talking about anybody as like a loose or like a kind of side member like we don't care about like this person didn't really make an impact. No, it was actually all necessary. That really stood out to me to the point where there was an impact on the culture. Where like years later, I think I was looking at for Wu-Tang Forever on like Spotify. I think like people have songs called Wu-Tang Forever that are not in Wu-Tang. I think Drake has a song called Wu-Tang Forever.
And so
like
does
also songs from totally different genres.
So does Logic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's like there might be like I'm sure there's a country song out there that's called Wu-Tang Forever. I think the fact that these dudes came together and made such a tremendous impact just I guess it does teach me about life a little bit.
Yeah, Meth put it best about talking about, I don't know if he's talking about generally about this album, but he goes, the sum of our parts is worth all the organizing. It's like the Power Rangers when they come together to form that Megazord shit. Them guys are lethal, but when they come together, it's even more incredible. This album will destroy every hip hop record made in the past 10 years. How fucking right was he?
So right, bro.
He was right. That wasn't braggadocio. He was right.
I was reading an article. It was a long time ago when I was still reading paper magazines, but it was in Rolling Stone. Yeah, it was in Rolling Stone, and it was hip hop artists talking about their favorite song. Okay, so Chuck D, legend, God MC Chuck D from Public Enemy, he picked Triumph. Okay, and he was talking about the song, but it really sums up. He goes, this is superhero rap, right? Every one of these guys is a master of their craft, and they all come together and form this incredible superhero team. And that is the Wu-Tang Clan. There's no other crew like them. There is no other crew that has this many members that when they are on the same page form this team that is so incredibly unique and deadly, yet none of them sound the same. Once you get to this album, especially, one of them, you can't mistake Ghostface for anyone. You can't mistake Raekwon for anyone. You can't mistake you guys for anyone.
That's the part that surprises the hell out of me. Imagine if we all came from the same little pod, same little octopus garden, the same little school of fish, right? Like we're gonna be each other's influence. A lot of it, right? Especially early on. Imagine we're making 36 Chambers together.
Right.
Like none of these guys were novices, right? They were all rhyming for a long time. They were all artists, but like getting together on that size of a platform and putting together a piece of music, what's the risk that you're going to sound like the guy next to you or as somebody that is already out there in popular music?
But I would argue on 36,
huge risk.
I would argue on 36 that some of them do deliver,
like
blend in. It's harder to
Sure.
discern the personalities on that.
Benny, but how much would you expect that they would? Like
Right.
a lot more,
Right. A lot
given
more,
their
yeah.
level of
No, that's
experience
good.
and the
That's
fact
good.
that they're all coming from the same place.
Right.
I'm just amazed by that.
Yeah.
I'm amazed by how much they did stand out. You mentioned that one or two members didn't fully develop their style yet. Maybe they blended in a little bit, but
Right.
like, holy crap, the fact that they stood out at all
Yeah.
and like emerged as artists afterwards in that kind of group coming from the same place, same music genre. None of them were like, oh, I'm from the South. Oh, I'm from the,
Right.
West Coast. No.
So unique, all of them, man.
Impressive.
I agree.
And like you said like there really isn't anyone else like them. It's like there's plenty, countless like hip hop collectives, right? Like Native Tongues, Odd Future, like they can name them. We got them, but
Boot Camp Click. There's a lot of
Boot Camp
them.
Click.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, sure, we can name these for hours. But none of them really have like consistent albums, like or at least not a group with this many people, right? It's either you have a group that has like a max like 4 people maybe, right? Or you have a collective that maybe put out one album throughout the entire career of the collective as a compilation, but it really is just like a compilation. It's it's not really like a but like these guys, like when was the last Wu-Tang album released? Within the last couple of years, right?
Better Tomorrow came out in I think 15.
15, right? Okay,
Oh no.
so
What came out after that?
That's something recent.
What was it was dope, their last one.
Yeah, I thought I remember that last album.
I can't remember what it's called.
But the point
Pitiful.
is like they're still putting out albums.
Yeah.
Like as a collective. Granted, we've never seen them peak as a whole as they did in Forever. Like there's some differences and everything now, but still the fact that they're even still doing it, and again, not as a collective but as a group, that's important, right?
Yeah,
is like that's I don't know what else to say to that. Like it's like,
incredible. It's their once in a lifetime, once in a generation type of artist. I think their impact, the fact that their symbol, literally that W is it's like the fucking Batman symbol. It's everywhere. I'm about to get a tattoo for my 1-year anniversary with my wife, and it will be a Wu-Tang W upside down because my wife's name is Madison. But like, I'm Jewish, and I never expected to get a tattoo.
I'm still shocked.
I mean, literally, a Jew getting a tattoo is very, at least back in the day.
I spoke with him. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
he doesn't care.
Got it. So
he'll take it anyway.
By the way, real quick, with just what I was saying before with the Power Rangers. Again, this may be me nerding out a little bit, but a testament to how much Meth like is able to adapt his style to new. Like, remember,
form like Voltron.
Form like Voltron was what they originally said in 36, but just as him, Meth getting with the times, and like years later, Power Rangers is now hot. So now he's equating into the Power Rangers. Again, I may be just nerding out a little bit, but that's just like, it's a small example of just Meth like just getting with the times and why Meth is still basically, I mean, Meth is more relevant now than he was back then, and he was insanely popular back then. I love him. He's for those who don't know, Meth is my favorite member of Wu-Tang. He's I love him. I worked with him on a movie. Like, he's great. Like, I love Meth.
I'd say he's most people's. He's like the shining. It's okay, but he's the shining star. He was the one who broke through the most by far. Can we please? I think we should do this. All right. I wasn't sure if we were going to go here, but I'd like to. Can we talk about the Hot 97? Summer Jam 97.
I thought that shit was hilarious.
Yo, okay.
So funny.
Let's just break it down a little bit. I think it deserves mentioning because it kind of goes towards why after 97 Wu-Tang was not the behemoth it was before 97. Okay? First of all, let's just real quick, I want to say this because I want to get it out of the way. In my opinion, if you're looking at solo career, by far the illest, best, most consistent, incredible solo career is Ghostface Killah, hands down. If you go to theraplizards.com, where you can find, all of our episodes and everything, you're going to find my top 10 list. The list evolves. It might my list in my head might be a little different than it is on that page, but by and large, those are my top 10 MCs ever. And the two Wu-Tang members that are on it are Inspector Deck and Ghostface Killah. Inspector Deck is a little higher towards the 10 mark than, or I don't know how you want to say it. It's closer to 10 than Ghost. And I say that because even though Deck has my favorite bars ever and he's the MVP on the Clan albums, I think Ghostface is the MVP in terms of like developed solo artist. His albums, he's put out several masterpieces, and there
Dion clarified this on a podcast on an episode like months ago, and I think this really clarified your musical standards to me, Ben, a lot. I think Dion asked, do you mean by commercial, like most successful by commercial success, or most commercial by what standard?
Artistic
and the standard
achievement
that we care about.
That wasn't from like, a few episodes ago. That's just the argument that me and Ben have been having for 20 fucking years.
20 years, yeah, 20-year argument.
Literally 20-year argument.
Hands down, Ghostface wins. Anyway, that being said, I want to just get it out because I didn't show enough love to Ghost. Ghost is a fucking genius. He's one of the illest lyricists, one of the best storytellers, one of the great comical funny rappers. He's the whole package. He's incredible genius of an MC. So I don't want to start telling this story without saying first how much I adore him as an artist. That
was a long-winded way of saying no offense, but
no offense, but right. And I mean this, right? Because the story is fucking crazy. Okay, Wu-Tang on top of the fucking world, biggest shit ever. On their way to being triple platinum with this new album, literally international superstars touring the world with Rage Against the Machine. A very successful tour, by the way. Hot 97, which not so much anymore, but it used to be if you were a hip hop artist, if you didn't get played on Hot 97, you will not be successful financially, right? You're not going to get
Hot 97 was where I picked up my latest hip hop back in the mid and late 90s for sure.
If you didn't break on Hot 97, you weren't breaking anywhere, okay?
And by the way, we're talking not just New York. There was a point where this was nationwide. Mm-hmm. If you were nationwide hip hop artist and your song did not break in Hot 97, you weren't going nowhere.
You weren't going anywhere.
Hot 97 were gods in the 90s.
Yeah. And that being said, right? So Wu-Tang got a lot of fucking play. The first album, all the solo shit, and in the beginning of the Forever era, Forever, right? Summer Jam comes along. While they're on tour on this hugely successful, impactful tour across the world.
I think it was the first Summer Jam, wasn't it?
I have no idea. I can't say yes or no. Anyway, Summer Jam comes along and Hot 97 says to Wu-Tang management, hey, you have to come play our show for free, the whole clan. You have to come off your tour and perform at Summer Jam in 97 for free, or we're not going to play your shit anymore, right? So like big breaks on this fucking train, comes to a halt. They all have to fly back to New York to do Summer Jam, right? And they were all fucking pissed. But at Summer Jam, right? To me, this is badass. I actually admire Ghost for doing this because it's him on the level of like fuck that shit higher than you could ever imagine. Like he literally like just spoke from the heart. And at Summer Jam in front of a massive crowd, he got the whole crowd to chant "fuck Hot 97" because he was so fucking pissed. Imagine thousands of people chanting "fuck Hot 97"
at a Hot 97 concert.
At a Hot 97 concert. So
yeah, that's peace, that's love, all that good shit.
So needless to say, this fucked up the rest of their career, or at least the trajectory of it, right? I think perhaps that disillusionment and that separation that occurred post Forever might have been more willing to come back together and reunite on a regular basis if the subsequent albums and solo artists got play on Hot 97, because their career would look very different. So it's an important
sure. It would be more of the springboard that it was meant to be. Rather than just having this weird artificial stop. But I think that went down actually a little bit differently. I remember how they talked about it in the documentary and the of Mike's and Men. And I'm like, all right, so let me give this a skeptical kind of look as an adult. What really happened here was they're on a tour. they're having gangbusters success, and it's awesome. And they're also 10 dudes on the road, definitely partying and smoking blunts all the time.
Possible
And
other substances.
Somebody missed a fucking voicemail somewhere saying, "Oh yeah, hey, do you remember when you agreed to do Summer Jam?"
I don't think they agreed. I don't think they agreed.
They definitely fucking agreed somewhere. Somebody agreed.
Maybe like one of the managers.
Divine
right,
agreed.
Exactly. right. Like the managers in their role as managers agreed for them to do this very smart and important show. And guess what? When they showed up, they were fucking belligerently pissed about it because they're tired of being on the road and they're worn out, and they're worn out by people screaming love at them in their face all the time. And they were belligerent from that point, and they did some belligerent stuff that they regretted. I think that's how it went down. It was not a one-sided sitch. I think everybody fucked up.
And I think I love the reaction. Like, I think it was Deck. I don't know who, but they were talking about the event, and like they kind of just said, "Hey, you got to stick with your brother. Like, what are we gonna do? Kick Ghostface out? Like,
I mean,
you got to stand by what your brother says. You know what I mean?" So they all went along with it, and by and large, Wu-Tang became underground at that point, right?
Yeah.
This underground music from day one, because it's devoid of any pop, attempts at being pop, but it was massively successful. And then after forever, Wu-Tang became an underground movement.
Wu-Tang itself, yeah, obviously, like Meth became big, RZA became huge.
Well, RZA.
I'm not. Well, hold on. I'm not
became,
just talking in the hip hop world. I'm just talking about in general.
Right, RZA became well versed in movies and other
scoring
ventures
and acting and everything.
Yes,
and Meth obviously is
I
a
have to say
household
that
fucking name.
Yeah.
It was damaging to Hot 97 too. It had to be, because they missed out on the Avengers of the new age.
Yeah.
All these superstars creating new work, and they're missing out on all of it because of some stubborn management decision, because somebody fucked up and somebody held a grudge.
You're right, but they also did just fine.
Silly.
Yeah, Hot 97 wasn't hurting.
Like,
they had Mace and Puff, but you could also.
But Gary,
you listen to a lot of Hot 97 these days?
No, fuck that.
I actually do.
Wait.
Keep it on the radio.
Real quick. Think about it this way, too, right? 97, by and large, was also what they say the dawn of the Jiggy era, right? So is it coincidental that at the time that they shun the most anti-Jiggy shit ever, and then Puff and Mace became, and then No Limit and all that other shit became shiny, flashy suits. You know what I mean? Is it a coincidence? I don't know.
Well, here's a real question.
A completely different direction. It could have been, instead of the Jiggy era and dancing in shiny suits, we could have been, wearing kimonos and shit and living like medieval age, kung fu villages.
Or
that could have been the style.
Or I mean, look, I don't think this would have been the case, but hey, it's possible. What if Wu-Tang themselves conformed a little bit and got a little bit shiny suit? Hey, no, Ben,
would never happen.
Your head.
Would
Ben,
never happen.
You're shaking your head.
Fuck that
but
shit.
Never say never. Never fucking say never. Because
Wu-Tang did a lot of things.
Gravel Pit is a dance song.
But Gravel Pit but look at Gravel Pit and tell me if that actually sounds like a pop song. It does not.
No, you're not listening. I said if they continued their play in Hot 97 and they had the pressure, because once they said fuck Hot 97, the pressure was off for him to conform to anything. But if they said, and again, I started by saying this, I don't think this would have happened. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I say never say never. Once you present the bag, like, I might put on a shiny suit. If you're going to give me $10 million, put on a shiny suit. Like, I'm sorry.
You're
I don't
not
care
wrong.
who you are.
Okay,
I don't give a fuck who you are. I'll put on
Give me a shiny suit with pockets. Lots of pockets.
Yeah, exactly. Give me that shit.
Anyway, I just think it's an important thing to examine, and it's just like one of those what if, what if they just did the show and went back on tour?
What if the Marvel What If show touches on that? What if we do our own what if? Anyway.
Yeah. Guys, we really went on, and I feel like this is one of those albums that we could have recorded an entirely separate part 2 episode and had just as much to say on the other shit about this album. It's a very long and involved album, and I hope if you're a Wu-Tang fan listening to this, I hope we did it justice for you. I can't say enough glowing, incredible things about this project. This was a life changer for me. This Wu-Tang itself, discovering Wu-Tang was a life changing experience for me. I got really deep. Dion, you remember, I got really deep into it where like I was like studying the mythology of it, and like
to the point where I was like, you all right, bro?
I was like literally like,
they didn't intend for you to study this.
I was like, I was buying all of the side project shit. Some of it was not great. You know what I mean? Some of it was great.
Shorty Shit Stain.
No, I did not listen to Shorty Shit Stain. But I love Sons of Man and Killer Army. But then I was getting like, the Wu Syndicate and like anything that like had any relation to. I was getting anything that had relation to something that had relation to Wu-Tang. I was gonna go listen. Yeah, I was deep into Wu. But anyway, discovering this album, it was like one of those like light bulb aha moments. Like, wow, this is the pinnacle of rap to me. This is as good as it gets. And are there more cohesive, more perfect albums out there? Absolutely. But this is my favorite fucking Wu-Tang album ever, and I hope we did it justice for anyone who's a fan also. So I'm gonna. That's my last lick. Gary, you want to hit us with the final take, and then Dion close us out?
Yeah, my final take is just that Wu-Tang is for the children. That's the most important takeaway for me. Yeah.
Little babies, little kids.
Running around.
Dion. Boys, girls, it don't matter.
It don't matter.
D, what do you got?
Yeah, man. I'll start my wrap up by just mentioning one song that we didn't touch on that I just think needs at least 30 seconds of chat, and that's Hell's Windstaff. That is the song to me, aside from Triumph, that shines on disc 2. It's one of the best songs of the fucking album. Not only does it, first of all, Deck's verse. Again, you want to talk about a Deck verse that is fire. With the force like Luke Skywalker, rhyme author, orchestrating mind torture, live performer, bit the mic sayonara, borderline the insane, I rain firewater. That's Deck. That is Deck. That's Deck in a fucking nutshell, right? Yeah. And also, there's a line by Ghostface that I want to use as an insult from now on. To all you slew-footed penguins. To all you slew-footed penguins ducking from these hot rocks that's flaming. I'm using slew-footed penguins from now on as an insult. But Hell's Been Staff, it's perfect. It's similar to Triumph. It's like perfect beat, perfect verses and flow, like all that shit, all that good shit. To wrap up though, 100% classic hip hop album. It's a Hall of Fame status as far as albums go. It really took the elements of 36 Chambers, just exploded them into a more mature sound overall. Like, I mean, mature is one of the many words I could use to describe the transition from 36 to this, but definitely different in a better way. And these guys, like, RZA in particular with his production, just matured and got better. Everyone's rhyme scheme, flow, lyrics, content, everything just got better from an album that, again, like, if you're looking at YouTube, like, it's one of my favorite albums, 36 Chambers. I would have put Forever if I had it, but I need to get that on vinyl. But yeah, and then some MCs I think that shined on this. Ben, you touched on it. I agree. I think Deck, first and foremost, of course. Ghostface, I think, shined on this. You God was to me a surprise because I don't fuck with You God that much, but in hearing this, it's like I get it. And obviously RZA with his production, just like just impeccable. I actually didn't think that Meth shined that much, but not because hold on, there's a reason.
Okay.
In comparison to 36, I feel like 36 Meth was the star of it. There was literally a song called Method Man on 36 Chambers, and
he was a little more of a team player here.
He was more of a team player. So what I meant by that is it's not
Jordan 98.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that his rhymes got any worse. In fact, they probably got better. But the problem is everyone else got better too. So he was more blended into like an already like amazing collective. Like it's like throwing like a fastball that they say elevates. Fastballs don't elevate. It just looks like they elevate because you're on a mound. Really, they're just going straight. Anyway, that's I can get it. Yeah, exactly. So that's my other overall takeaway. Great listening, and I now have some new favorite Wu-Tang tracks out of this. This is one of the greatest albums of all time.
Hell yeah!
And among the albums we've done a lot of great albums, a lot of classic ones. This is one of the tops for just the albums that we've done. Like this is probably top 5. Next week, I am going to switch it up a little bit with my pick. Going away from this sort of underground Timberland boost, but I'm still keeping it in New York. I'm going with an album that I have a pretty strong emotional connection to, and I think that you guys do too. I'm gonna do "We Got It From Here." Thank You for Your Service by Tribe Called Quest.
Yes.
I'll get into it when we actually do record the album. But I realized last few weeks, I'm like, you know what, like. I keep coming back to this album, and every time I listen to it, like I just I get emotional. Like for some of the time, it's Fife is part of it. It's where I was when I listened to it. It's the week that it came out that I listened to it. Yeah. Which, if you remember, and again, we'll talk about that once we get to that week. But Tribe Called Quest, we got it from here. Thank you for your service. That is technically their latest album, first posthumous release since Fife passed. Came out in 2016, and please go enjoy.
Hell yeah. I can't wait. Can't wait to discuss that one. Thank you for that righteous pick. Thank you guys. Thanks for listening. Raplizards.com. You could find everything you need to find there. I want to thank our amazing behind the scenes producer, Nate. Does so much for this show. Nate, we love you. I want to thank the Red Walrus. He is the producer behind all the beats you hear on any interludes, intros, outros. He's got fire beats. Please go to Bandcamp. Download his music and support this guy because he's fucking awesome. And thank you, Fred. And I want to thank you guys for listening. You've been listening to the Rap Lizards podcast. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.